Hi, I'm Dan. Welcome back to my videos. We're doing a second video on how to hook up 4-wire smoke detector power to a Vista-20P panel. Now, if you have a Vista-15P or a First Alert equivalent, the 148 or the 168, or the ADT SafeWatch, which is the same thing, it's all going to be the same procedure. So in the other video, we talked about taking power directly off of our trigger output, our trigger 17, to power the smoke detectors, and we talked about why you're good up until about 2 or 3 detectors and how we are limited to the amount of current we can pull out of this output. This is just a transistorized output that goes to ground when it activates. It's not a relay output directly that can give you a whole lot of current to work with. So in this situation, if we have more than a couple smoke detectors, or if we're using another power supply other than the panel, this is the way to go. Now, you can use a 4204 relay module if you want. Your company probably charges $200 for one of those things, and there's no sense in charging a customer $200 to reset their smoke detectors, let's be honest. So if you have the ability to just do it this way, it's a lot easier and cost effective. So let's talk about some of the wiring that we have here. The yellow and green goes to a zone, and this can be any zone from 2 to 48, but it cannot be on zone 1. We talked about that in the last video, but we'll talk about it here again just in case you missed it. This could be green and white, it could be blue and brown, it could be any combination, but this is the relay side of the 4-wire smoke detector that triggers the actual alarm. The red and black are our detector power. And for this video, we're taking power off of the panel, and that's okay as long as you're not overloading, as long as you don't have a lot of stuff, a lot of keypads. Kind of have to take in your own installation and look at what you have. We can take power off of our keypad terminals here for smoke detector power. So the negative is going to come off terminal 4. That's our negative keypad power. The positive here is being switched through the relay, normally closed and common, and the common is going to go to the aux power positive. We want to switch power through the normally closed side. We don't want this relay energized 24/7 until the customer has a fire alarm, which could be years. It not only is that a lot of wear and tear on the relay, we also want this relay to be in its normally de-energized state. That way, if this relay fails, it's not going to de-energize the smoke detectors. We want this normally to pass power through, and when it gets the reset pulse, it's going to go off normal for 2 or 3 seconds. We don't want to rely on this coil to constantly be energized for years and years and years and years to provide life safety power. So we've got the jumper here from common over to the positive power, and smoke detector positive coming through normally closed. We'll talk about the trigger 17 here. There are 4 terminals on that header. This is just a regular old keypad cable that comes with every receiver, expander that Honeywell's ever made. And 17 is the yellow. Now this red and black is constant 12 volt power. It's again very limited, but for triggering a relay, we can use this. So we're using the 12 volt red wire here for the positive coil of the relay, and we're using the switched negative, this yellow wire, for the negative of this coil. So that's how we have this wired. The constant 12 volts here, and then switched negative on this negative terminal. This is just a good old RB5, our old friend that we've been using here for umpteen years. That is the wiring. Now, if you were using an external power supply, it would be the same thing. It's just, instead of coming off the panel, it would come from your other power supply. On a wiring note, let's talk about our 4-wire smoke detector. We don't have the end-of-line relay. That's just for demonstration purposes, but if you have 4-wire smoke detectors, you absolutely must have the end-of-line relay. The fact that I took this detector head off the base, didn't get in trouble, is a big deal. This is life safety. That relay supervises power, and if power is lost to this detector circuit, throws a trouble. The fact that I took this off here, we can't have a missing smoke detector base or missing smoke detector with no troubles on the system. So the wiring here is pretty easy. The programming is going to be even easier. So again, you need to have, in addition to the keypad cables, which is your 4 conductor, and you can even use the trigger cable. That plugs on there too. It would just be this black wire. It's that far left first pin. In addition to those cables, you do need an alpha keypad. So if the site you're working on doesn't have an alpha keypad, if you have the regular normal digit keypad, it's not going to work too well. So we're going to go into programming here, install our code 800. Now we've already got our zone here programmed for fire, and that is type 9. That can be type 16 if you want your verification, but we're just using regular old fire zone here for this video. Let's back out of here. The only programming we're going to do is going into field *80, and we're going to define an output function. You might already have some output functions. If you have relays as it is, you might see something in here. This is actually left over from my last video, so let's go ahead and just clear this out and kind of back up here. We're going to delete that. Okay, so let's back up here. Output function number 1, if that's not being used, you're going to see a question mark and 0, 0. That means that number 1 is available. You might see some other things. If you're using a strobe light that latches or something like that, you might see something in there, but this panel is pretty much defaulted, so we don't have anything programmed. So let's go to output 01. There's our summary screen telling us it's not being used, and hit star and move forward. Now where it says activated by, we're going to change this from 0 delete to 2. That's going to be zone type. And then for enter zone type, we'll change this from 00 disabled to 54 fire zone reset. So let's talk about what fire reset does, fire zone reset. That is not a general purpose reset. That's not going to reset power after any alarm. We can't use that to reset a glass break detector that latches or an LED that latches. This will only reset power if it's a 4-wire smoke zone. It will not reset power after any fire alarm. It has to be a 4-wire smoke zone, and that 4-wire smoke zone has to be in a shorted state during the reset to get a reset pulse. So it won't reset after a keypad fire panic. It won't reset on a fire alarm from zone 1. Now that's pretty important. Zone 1 is reserved for 2-wire smoke detectors. So if an alarm comes in on zone 1, those smoke detectors get their power from that zone. It's not separate power. So this panel, if it sees an alarm on zone 1, is not going to try to reset power through this function. It's going to drop power to zone 1, and that's it. So don't put your 4-wire smoke detectors on zone 1. What will happen is they will activate the panel, but they'll never reset power. And that's why this has to be on zones 2 through 48, which is the highest you can go on a 20p. We have it on zone 8. So that's what fire zone reset does. If you create a fire alarm by shorting out the zone, which is fine, you're not going to see a reset pulse. Like I said, that zone has to be shorted when you do the reset, the second code off, in order to get a reset pulse. It's very specific. It's not terribly important to know, but it might throw you off if you're expecting it to be a general purpose reset. So we're going to go fire zone reset, and that is literally all we have to do. We're going to stay at any partition, and then for enter output number 17. If you needed to, you could use the green wire up here. That's trigger 18. You are very, very limited to what you can pull off 18, but you can drive a relay, and that's about it. So if 17 is being used for something else, you can actually use the green here. That's trigger 18. So there's our summary screen, trigger 17, partition 0, and zone type 54. We're going to go ahead and jump out of programming, *99. And we'll pop off our smoke detector here and show you what it does. All right, give that a push. There's our fire alarm. Let's put that detector where we can see it. First code off, silences the panel, silences the keypad, silences a siren. You'll see the alarm is still latched in the keypad, and the smoke detector is still lit up. That will allow the customer or the fire department to come out, figure out which detector is activated. Now we do the second code off. There's our reset pulse from the panel. That kicks the relay off normal for 2 or 3 seconds and resets power. So there's our fault. That will go away here once the system kind of clears and realizes the zone is normal. And there we are, back to disarmed rated arm. So that's how you use a RB5 or equivalent trigger relay to reset power for 4-wire smoke detectors. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, drop them below, and we will see you later.